So we've been talking about sex labels.
Yes.
And I think the new sex label for women is Cougar.
Yeah, I think so too. I started the blog and called it The Real Cougar Woman because I read so much negative press about women over 40 that were strong, sexy, powerful. That
it's so threatening.
It is so threatening, and that I had to do something about that to reinforce all of the good qualities we have, that having sex and enjoying sex is wonderful, looking good is wonderful, taking care of yourself is wonderful, being financially independent is wonderful, so what was all of this other garbage about? We've had so many negative labels for women, and this is just another one.
But I like how you embraced it and you said, okay, let's own the label. Who is the real Cougar woman?
Yeah, absolutely. But because we have to, because if we listen to the party line and what society says we should be as women, then
you're never going to be happy.
We're never going to be happy, And if sex is a part of that, which we believe it is, with my sex educator over here, and I certainly do. We have to be sexual beings, and I don't understand why that is such a threat to even other women.
I just did that pictorial on Esquire, and it was interesting to me that a couple of blogs picked it up and they said, isn't it wonderful to see an older woman who still looks so good? And I'm 38, like I'm the older woman.
I know, that's incredible.
And it's so interesting, and I think that's what they use the Cougar label. It's like marginal, like you're old. If you're a Cougar, you're old. And if you're an older woman, no one wants you sexually. And now, late 30s, you're over the hill. You know what I mean? Sexually, which is the opposite. In your 40s, that's when women hit their sexual prime.
Yes, they do. And I love my 40s, but I have to admit that when I was in my 40s, now that I'm looking back at my 40s, I thought I was old.
And that's so horrible that you're not enjoying. That's some of the best years of your life. You should really enjoy your 40s as a woman.
You absolutely have to. I mean, it is a great time, and I did. But psychologically, I said, okay, because as you're approaching 50, you're saying, that's like the turning off point.
But I like that story of when you got engaged. Tell that story.
Oh, well, I lived with my husband for over 20 years before we got married. And when we got married, after the wedding and months that preceded the wedding, we would see these people, and they kept looking at me and say, well, what's the story? What's the story? And I said, what are you talking about? They said, well, you're not getting any bigger. And I said, what? They said, well, you're pregnant, aren't you? And I said, what are you, crazy? And they said, well, what other reason would you have to get married if you weren't pregnant? And I said, oh my God, I mean,
it can't be marriage by choice.
And even if I wanted a baby, why would I have to be married to have one? That wouldn't even be an option. When I was a kid in the 70s and we were living together, I mean, that was outrageous behavior. It really was. I mean, who lives with a guy? And I always liked to be that bad girl that stepped away and did things her way.
The rebel.
And I guess I still am in my own little way, but women just have to. We're so powerful, and we're so fabulous, and we're so strong, and we are so sexual. I don't know why the sexuality is such a threat.
I think because we are more complex, and I think female sexuality is so powerful and so unlimited that it is intimidating. And I think that's why, when you're in your 20s, it's the slut stigma. That's the label that keeps you from being sexual, And then we have the Cougar label when you get older and you're in your sexual prime. Now you're a Cougar, and you think of some woman who's taking advantage of younger men.
Right. So there's always a label to inhibit you, to hold you back.
Like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So what you should really do is what you want.
I couldn't agree more, and that is the motto for the Real Cougar Woman. Just be the woman that makes you happy.